let's start this. So I'm going to walk through a couple things today. So the first one is going to be, because what we use Focus First for is in conjunction with sold data. So when you're pulling up comparables, because the problem is with most agents is they will pull and bring three comparables to a listing, right? Even if you're trying to compare something for your client when you're helping them buy too, right? You just usually pull the last three sales or something and you're like, oh, I think it's right around here. And then you're really going off of a gut emotion instead of like true data, right? So when you guys have been in listing presentations with us and you see it, it's like, whoa, that's a lot of data that is being put out there. But it's really enjoyable when music comes on when you're pulling data because it makes it more fun. um, and so what's really good is um, is to be able to figure out what we needed to do years ago was figure out a way to get a ton of data that doesn't take a lot of time to get and have some sort of a system and program you can put it in that visually explains it to the client. So when we're sitting with a client, they can see on a sheet of paper, oh yeah, okay, I get it. Like that house is here, this house is here, my house should be right in this range. Like you're never going to be able to tell someone this is what your home is worth to the dollar kind of thing, or even to the $5,000 range. You're always going to have a range, a window, when you're trying to explain something to somebody, right? Because you're going to have emotional seller, emotional buyer, emotional agent on either side, and trying to negotiate during that, and it's going to fall somewhere within a range, okay? So what I'm going to do is I will go through pulling, like if I was just to do one really quickly, and then we'll all do one together, and then we'll have a couple practice ones. Does that make sense? So um, I have not pulled any properties. I don't know anything. I'm trying to figure out a recent sale. Do you have an address?
Yeah, we need to do a recent sale. We do an active. Let's do one of our listings.
Do an active one?
Yeah, do 78 Citadel Gardens.
Okay. So whose is that? Okay, sweet. So I'm going to go backwards a little bit and kind of show you some of the things you want to pull in order to get info, okay? So the first thing you want to do is you go into Creb Maps, and inside Creb Maps, doom, 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 what's the address again?
78 Citadel Gardens.
Okay. So yeah, you just search the address, and it actually shows that it's active on here. 100%.
Yeah.
Click
On
on
the city.
click on details, and in the details you can actually click full report, and this gives you a PDF, or you can print this out. And in this PDF, it actually shows you what the city has for its square footage. Yeah, that's why we're doing this.
Only in Calgary, though.
Yeah, it doesn't work in Airdrie or other places, unfortunately.
I think Okotoks maybe it works. I'm not sure. I can't remember.
It shows you like their last sold date, what it sold for. On a side note, have you guys seen that website? Oh, Rebecca and I found it on the weekend. It was in the Calgary Realtors Facebook group.
Honest Door?
Honest Door. Just write that down, honestdoor.com or something, I think. Just go look at it. It's pretty freaking cool.
It is.
These guys are pulling data from sold data, refinance data. They're pulling city data, so like statistics or whatever. They're basically building this massive database of property information. So you can go and look up your house. It'll give you the honest door value. It's kind of trying to do like a Zillow thing. Yeah, it's really neat. Like we shouldn't be scared of those things because the only thing that's going to come up is if it gets popular, clients will look at it and go, well, my value on Honest Door said it should be this. That's great. And then you just have to talk to them about it. And actually, this is a great tool to help explain all of that when people think their house is worth something or whatever it is. Okay. So, so this is the property. So it's a 2-story house, 1,500 or 1,600 square foot, in Citadel. So those are the main things that you'll need to know. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to pull all the data that we possibly can on this. So what I've done is I have set up my cross property search over here as my focus first search because I got so tired after doing hundreds of these in a year. I got tired of inputting this every single time. Okay. So you can set a search and you can actually like save it somewhere. I don't remember how. Yeah. Oh, up here, right there. So set currently selected search criteria as my starting default. So when after you set this up the first time, then do that. And then, because I'd never used the cross property search for anything that often, only if it was like a weird search with land and you're doing acreage stuff or whatever, that's when I would use it because it wasn't just a defined attached house or a detached house or an apartment or whatever. So this is where you use that. So in here, the only thing that you have to be careful of when you're doing a cross property search is you have all of these available to you. So attached, detached, apartment. So I would go in and I'm just going to go in and do this as if I was doing it. So I would go detached. I would go to Citadel. And I want to see how many the number down here. Ideally, you want to get your matches. If it's below 100 or 150, it's tougher to have a good focus first data. And if actually, you know what? Don't do it right now. Just watch. Yeah, we'll do it all together after. This is just a good way just to kind of to download a little bit of it. And so then this number, you really want it to not like this actually would be fine because it's not crazy. But if it was a bungalow, you can see if you chose bungalow by level, it only goes to 85. So that's not horrible. You can fake your way through that after you've done enough of these to make it work. But this house, is it a 2-story? Mm-hmm. So 2-story and probably a double, right? Mm-hmm. So now we're at around 250. Okay. So you don't want to do any funny numbers here. Like you want this to be as big as you can because that's what's going to give you your price range on your scatograms and things like that. Okay. And so you don't want to, unless it is like in a condo and it's a 2-bedroom condo and comparing a 1-bedroom condo is just not an option, then you do a 2 bedrooms. So that's where you would put 2 bedrooms above grade in here. But if it's just detached house, like keep it pretty open. So go to results, just click all and export. Like I don't even look at it at this point. I just export the data. I don't even look at it. I'm not looking for comparables yet. You want to look for comparables once you're in focus first, okay? So then I would go over here. Actually, Maya, can you see all this and hear all this? You can. Okay, cool. I haven't been on my laptop. Sorry. I just want to make sure it was working. Then I go individual pricing and I go start here. I go download the text file. This pops up. I always keep the community here and then I just define what the search was. So this would be like double garage attached 2-story, just whatever. You can put whatever you want in there. And then once this populates, where'd it go? Oh, there we go. That was a lot of work. Okay, so let me just go in through here. One thing that I have found, the program recently, when you click on things, they're blank. So if you see this, don't freak out. Everything's here. Click on the neighborhood patterns tab. I just hit print for whatever reason, and then it shows them. Well, it actually doesn't show them here. But odds,
If you go up to create graph option,
is that?
and then hit OK. Usually, there you go.
Yeah, sometimes it just takes a while to load it. There we go. So these are the data you want to pull. So what I usually do really quick is I will go from odds all the way to like 2018. So this is time to sell, buyer pattern. That's the different graphs. I will just print these and I'll save them as a PDF. So I don't know how that works on PC World, but what James used to do is he would edit the graphs for some reason in Excel. I edit the PDF. So
I do the PDF.
yeah. So I'm not sure what the.
You didn't have a Mac though, so
That's why that's why I'm saying that. Let's just call this test. Focus first. Create it. I always call these the main pages, just because that's what I've always done. So now it saves those PDFs. I go into pricing. Up here, visual pricing, create graph. I'm doing it really fast. We'll walk through this slower. Don't worry. This automatically pulls 6 months back. So you can just round it up to a date if you want. You can leave it 6 months, whatever. But you don't want to go longer than 6 months. It's too far. So select properties, create graph. This is all. Hit OK, hit OK. So now, right here popped up the scattergram. So right away I can see that these ones, like Buddy in Citadel is trying to sell for $8.90. He's still active. So then I want to go back over to the data and get rid of that guy because he's kind of a pain in the side. So you just got to find it. It's right here. Take that, unselect, and then you go back to here. Just go update graph, and then just replace it. And now he's gone. That's a little bit better. You could go and take some of these out too, but
I would take the 630.
Think so?
Because then it'll improve the.
It'll change it. Where is it? Right, this one? Yeah. Okay, there you go. So then what I do is I print this, save it as a PDF, save it in their folder. I just call it a scattergram. So let's go into that folder. So I will actually edit the PDF. So I don't know, again, PC stuff, but this is on Mac what you can do. So the first step in here is you basically want to, it's called annotating. So create another line that is exactly same slope. So this is your price per square foot slope that you're creating. The trick here, it looks like we're totally guessing when we're putting this out, but this is showing the highest and the lowest. So what I've always done is as I'm going down, I will slide it, and as soon as I end up touching 2 spots, that's where I leave it. Now this is like really outlier type stuff, because if their property is 1600, well, actually it's not crazy. And then down here, again, when it touches 2 is right about there. So what that is showing, that's typically the highest it's going to be, and the lowest. The 2 blue dots, sorry. So the blue dots are sold, red squares are expired, green triangles are active. So it's the first spot where there's 2 sales that happen. Because there's always going to be something that's like just crap, and there's something that's just like really, really good that no one else is going to have, okay? And then the last line is I take it, copy it, make it straight. A trick for Macs is you hold shift and it will lock it at a 45 or at different angles. I just have always changed it to green, and then I put the square footage. So now we can go back to this, and it was 1590 square feet. So that would be roughly right around there. Actually, it should be that green triangle right there is the actual listing that we have, right? Because you're at 430, 420 something?
424.
Yeah. Okay. So now the next step is then to kind of get a feel of, okay, well, what is the higher side? See, if this was me, I would actually bring this down to here because these all seem, they're bigger square footage, they kind of seem out there, and I would bring this up a bit, probably to like there, because that just looks better.
And lake size.
And which?
You have a lot of data points.
There's a
at
lot.
Similar size, right?
Yeah. So then now we want to do is we want to start digging into stuff that's kind of the highest. Whoops, sorry. The highest, the lowest, and stuff in the middle. And this is where you're starting to pull your comparables from. It's not trying to just search through hundreds of listings because that is that's not a complete waste of time. If you're learning and you're trying to get better in understanding the market, it's helpful even just to scan a lot of them because then you understand it. But once you've done enough of these, I will take, like, you want to get to a point, or you could get to a point where you could do this in 20 minutes, pull all this stuff, walk into a listing, and basically make it up on the spot. Like, and what I mean by making it up is figuring out what is their price on there based on the 3 or 4 comparables. Because what I would do is I would probably pull this one or this one, these top two. I would pull one or two down in here, and I'd pull one or two down here. You don't want to bring more than 3 to 5 sales. I'd bring a few of the actives as well. But then when you're looking at it with them, a lot of times you don't know what the house is like at all, right, before you get there. And so this way you've got what is the most it could sell for, what is the least it could sell for, what is the middle ground. Are they just above that middle? Are they just below that middle? Are they really like the ones that are really, really bad, or they're like the ones that are really, really good? And then you're able to start figuring out what's in the middle, okay? And so how you figure that out is you go back to the Excel sheet and you just kind of look. So this one says that it's 1681 square feet and it's sold for 458. And this one was 1500 and sold for 436. Typically, comparing something that's 1500 and 1681, or even something that's like 1869 square feet to a 1590 square foot house is really hard, but this isn't. If you start going through some of these sales and you find, and let's say you meet the person, you walk through the house, you're like, oh man, okay, I didn't bring the best data that I could. Let me go back to the office. Let me look at this data again, and let me send you some more numbers, because I want to do a little bit more homework on this. Just because your house was not what I thought it was. It sounded like it was going to be a piece of junk, but you did a lot of work. Like, this is really, really nice. So let me go do some more homework on it. Let me figure this out. And then all of a sudden you notice that this one, 1869, it's like 300 square feet bigger, but it's really similar. So now, if that's the case, I'm just doing this for a demonstration purpose. So if this purple line, and that one was very similar, now we know that it's worth about 440 because it's a price per square foot slope, right? So what happens is we visually are able to see on a chart what something is worth. Doesn't matter if it's way bigger or way smaller, it gives us the ammo to be able to say, your price per square foot over the last 6 months, just in Citadel, with homes that are attached to garages that are 2 stories, is this. Like, that's pretty damn specific, right? So it gives you the tools to be able to do that. So is there anything you want to add, Alex?
No, go ahead. Sorry, I'm not even ready.
The blue line it did. Yeah. So the red ones I created, the green one is their square footage line. So when I'm sitting with somebody, when we're sitting there and you're presenting this to them, before you get into price, the best question to ask them is, well, here's your green line. You explain the whole chart. You explain what it is: blue dots, red dots, green dots, this, that, whatever, red lines, blue lines. So here's your green line. Here's where your square footage is. Where do you see yourself on this line? Where do you guys, and then they're kind of looking at the prices over here. They're like, oh, we were really hoping for like 450. And all of a sudden they're like, well, we're right about here. And you're like, all right, this is a totally different conversation now. Because like you're above the average or the highest price per square foot sale. So that's going to be, okay, now I got to help you understand why you're not, right? If they were like, oh no, like we were always thinking like 430, something like that. You're like, okay, we're on the same page. We can have a different conversation now. Nobody ever says they're lower, ever. So it's one of these two. It's either they're realistic or they're just out to lunch on their price and they need or want way more than what the market will give them today, right?
Is it pointless in asking them that question?
No.
Don't they normally fill out the form?
They forget that they put that in there. You already know what they thought back then. Check in again. Don't bring it up. Check in again with them, like blindly in front of them. Like they could have had, you don't know what's changed from them filling out the form 3 weeks ago to today, or 2 days ago to today. They could have had conversations with their bank, and all of a sudden, oh no, we paid off more mortgage than we thought. We don't need 450. We're okay with 440.
Or the husband doing it in a way that's like you're not
Totally. So you don't know. So you use that as a tool to help figure out beginnings, but then you're starting over again in front of them. And I just find that's because that also builds rapport. Instead of just you dumping everything they gave you in a sheet, it builds rapport. You're having conversations about stuff, right? So, is there any other questions? Is this all making sense so far? So I will, do you want me to go and pull comparables to show you? Or is it pretty straightforward? Yeah, I'll do it. So let's go back to here. So, let me go back to this. So let's pull these two top blue dots. Yeah. But you have to think, well, that's what we're going to pull. This is what I'll do this. I'll show you this. Yeah. Don't be sorry. No apologies needed. 430. Be sorry. So in here, this is the easiest way. Don't get rid of this data. Just go back. Go back to your criteria. Actually, I went too far. Just go to results. No, I'm kidding. Go here. So get rid of this stuff. This is all stuff you're really not gonna need at this moment, and change this to 180 days because that's 6 months of data. So now I only have 30 places to kind of sort through and organize. You can sort it by price, by square foot, whatever you want. So this one's 1,500 and it's sold for 436. So let's grab that guy. This one's 1,681 and he's not in here. So let's go 200 days. Maybe something snuck in.
He could be covered by something.
Oh, right there.
That one, there it is. Yep. Yeah, it was probably like 182 days or something. And then, let's see. We'll kind of dig in through these ones, but let's grab this one for sure. And that one is 1655 at 405. Right there. Okay, so this one's 1601 at 424.9. Is that your listing? No, it's not. Oh, I think that might have been the active one. Sorry. When they're like close, it's kind of hard to. Huh. Anyways. Can't. Oh, 1594, 422. There we go. 422, that one. This guy, 1638, sold for 424. Okay, so now we have 5 places. So quick way to refine it, click refine, go narrow, and we'll only show what you have checked. I don't know if you guys knew that or not. But so now we can kind of start just looking at the range of things. So this house is sold at 436 and is the 1500. So that guy is this one up here. So this is one of the higher sales, smaller square footage, but a higher sale. Oh, no, it was Mr. Cruz.
Oh. When did you start putting his middle name in there?
Yeah, I don't know. When Miami Vice came back. So this is one of the nicer places. So the things I'm always looking for are the cabinets original? Is the flooring original? Are they updated any countertops? Like what have they kind of done to the place? Yeah. It's small. Like it's like if someone has new black, new white, or new stainless, it doesn't change the value of your house. If they've got old builder grade 19 whatever white coil top gross stove versus someone who has a newer base model ceramic for $500, like it doesn't make a massive difference. So to me, this is very, what's the right word? Citadel-ish.
Clean?
Yeah, it's very clean, very simple. But if you know Citadel, once you look through this is all the homes in Citadel. So this is what people are gonna see. This is super clean. Like that's all original. The cabinets will be original. But to me, like actually this is, oh yeah. So to me, this is like actually a really decent place. Sold in 14 days. So yeah, so that's that one. So now this one is the 1594. Let me go back to this. 1594.
The one right next to us. It's down on the
Oh, that tiny one. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So this one sold for 422.5. So this is right on the blue line. Okay. So you'll see the difference. 1594, fully finished, walk out, walk up. Whenever I see walk up, walk out, I already know what's happening here. I don't feel like I should say it because it's a little bit bad. But whenever you see walk ups tied with certain agent names, like Asian, the house is probably not in great shape. And this is very, very bad for me to say, and I probably should stop the recording. But a lot of like there's certain demographic or types of individuals who live in their houses really hard, don't do any upgrades, and then expect top dollar for it later. And we see it when you show them, right? You walk in, you're like, another one, and we see it. So those are just little things that I see when I look at it. This is a corner lot. Some people will hate it, some people will love it. Like if there's the right thing there, you could have an RV parking, but you got to shovel because it's got a sidewalk there. So
also it might suck depending on what the road is.
yeah, yeah. So inside, you would think because these cabinets have been updated, why did this house not sell for more? You've got tile throughout probably most of the main floor. Oh yeah. And some beautiful hardwood. So now this is more of the average sale home. And we can all agree we see a big difference, right? Or is it just me? What are those fun little guys? Blue carpet. I mean, they've done some stuff, like they've done some cabinets, whatever. But really, everything else is probably in rougher shape. And this is one of the ones that probably looked better in photos than it looked in person, most likely. And this is a big reason why we do this way, is because when you guys get into the listing presentation and you're talking about that stuff, the like, what's the right way to say it? Like, most agents will bring in their own personal feelings attached to a listing, and they will price adjust. Like, you know what I'm talking about, when you're adjusting a price for a house and you only have 2 or 3 comparables that are from the same street, and you did that because it's just they're close by, versus looking at enough data to have real good data. And you don't know if something looked good online and was horrible in person. You don't know what the smells were in the homes, but because like smoke smell, different food smells, cat pee. I was just say like urine smells. All those kind of things are huge triggers for people. Like, I went on a listing appointment a couple of weeks ago for one of our past clients, whatever, and they're not going to be able to sell. But I walked in and it was like urine, and I was like, do I have to take my shoes off? Like, it was just so strong. And even though the carpets are clean, whatever, it's just that gut reaction. And those are things you can't pull from Matrix. You can't tell if that's happening in this house. So if you were just to look at the numbers on here without anything else, and you only compared that house to someone else's house, you could look at it and be completely skewed in terms of what you think the value is of a home. It could be a lot more, a lot less, because now you're putting your personal judgment in there instead of just comparing a lot of data points that are in the right area, right?
Do you have to, I mean, is it recommended to tell people those things? Like, you need new paint, or the smell, there's a smell in here, and if I smell it, maybe you're used to it, but other people are going to notice that, like, this needs to be dealt with, so that we can get you up a little bit higher?
Yeah, so when we're going through this, at the end, after you're talking about stuff, I usually would say to people, here's what you can sell for today. Like, this is the range, like this, and I only ever talk about sale price. I never say what they could list for. Because if you talk about, I think you could probably sell at like 425. We probably listed around 435, 438, let's say. All they're hearing going is, great, we could sell it for 438. Well, I said 435 to 438. You could list it and say it was 425, right? People only hear the highest number that you tell them. So you never want to talk about that, or you're very, very clear on it. And so in the documents that you guys will have when you're going to listings, it says, here's your sales price range and here's your active list price range, because it's very, very, very different. And if it's, here's what you could sell for as is, and you guys don't want to do any work, and this is part of the listing meeting you go through, is like, well, how much work are you willing to put into the house and how much are you not? Do you want to sell it as is? Do you want to do more work to it? Do you want to wait 3 months to get it on and do all this work? Or you just want to get it on now? Like, what's more important to you at this stage of the game, right? And so, where was I going with that? Yes, so you want to talk about those things, because then it helps you understand where they're at, but then they also hopefully can get a little more clear when it comes time for a plan. Because I would say a lot of, and you can tell me if I'm missing a part of this, but I think a lot of people, most sellers, like I said this all the time, 99% of the sellers know what their home is worth. They just need someone to give them guidance and help in understanding and making sure that they can get that value.
Maybe a little high.
Okay, 90, 85. Majority. I would say majority.
They're in the ballpark.
Majority of people aren't like 100 grand over. They're not like unrealistic, right? But a lot of it is just helping them understand, here's how we go and do that kind of thing, right? So.
I have a question. With that walk-up, was it just written as a walk-up just because it had a back door?
No, it's
probably. Was there actually a walk?
Yeah.
It's kind of a walkout there, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just like, was there even a walkout? I was so confused.
Oh, I think I stopped right there. That's why.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I was just curious.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that's that one. So the next one, is this all helpful? Is this following? Okay. So this one was 424, 1638. So this would be right in that middle cluster, probably like one of these ones. This one right there. So just below the blue line. That other one was just above the blue line. So
One took 55 days, this one took
16
16.
days, yeah. Yeah, this one also is a walkout.
Because it's a walkout, whatever, don't those generally have more, like, higher value associated to them? Of course, if you can't consider the smells and whatnot.
Yeah.
But generally, like, walkouts are higher
Typical.
value, right?
So this is one thing that I feel like if we do like a document, that kind of helps with basic understanding of values within reason, right? Because a typical walkout. So this is okay. So this is the approach of, and this is the hardest part of figuring this out because you want to understand some of those value differences, but it doesn't make or break a lot of stuff. Do you know what I mean now? Um, like, I don't know, maybe you jump in, but like, understand, like, when you're going this way and you're doing it this way, it is so backwards compared to what most agents do. Most agents will nitpick new carpet versus not new carpet. And they just go through a list, a long list of, well, you have this and you have this, and you don't have this and they have this. And you end up, that's what most agents have done. Even if you get it the same result, I find that going this way and explaining this to somebody, they get it way quicker than a laundry list of items. Okay? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
What else could you say about that? Or I said it all.
I guess when I look at it as a
Yeah, like a
personal individual, it's like price is most important, and then those things like walkout or develop basement or things like that, that's added value for that price point. Right? So,
Well, that all factors into your price.
right.
Like that walkout, I assume that the house wasn't as good. Like that walkout kept it close to that blue line.
That's true, actually, because if it was a
Yeah.
big house, it would have sold
So
for
that's
more.
what I'm, like that's my initial thought on it. Like I
Yeah.
love like a document like end unit townhouse. How much more value is that? Like I'm always like kind of like in a foggy area with that.
yeah.
Because it's like such a gray area, right?
The best way to think of it is what would a builder, so if you're trying to figure out what a value is, when that place was new, now don't think of like, go too crazy on it and say, well, that was a $1990 and this is $2015. That's right. Like, don't go stupid with it. Just think, what is the difference that a builder would charge? We've all been to new builds for a walkout lot versus a regular lot. What would a builder charge for an end unit in the townhouse versus the middle unit? Just think that, because we all have those rough numbers and ideas in our head, and that's the best way to do it. Because what is sold in, I don't know, like somewhere up northeast versus somewhere southwest, opposite ends of the city, like builders are going to charge different things there too. So you have to think of who's your audience as well. So there isn't ever just going to be a double garage is worth 10 grand more than a single garage. Well, that one's a very easy one. So that is the case because it's like, what is the cost to build that versus not, right? So it's just thinking really a builder would charge, because you could look at it. So if this was a corner lot and it had an alleyway and it was a walkout, what would the builder charge for that versus one that wasn't? If you are comparing that in the home you are talking about was not all of those things. So that's when, if the home is perfect and that is the best comparable after you've gone through this whole process, then you're starting to look at those minute details. That's when you start pulling those numbers in, but you don't need to do it for 10 places, right? This helps you narrow it down quicker to be able to have two places that are really, really good comparables. Okay. Does that help? Does that make sense? Okay, so this one just below the blue line, but it actually looks great. But it's older kitchen. So that other one that was just above the blue line had the kitchens redone.
I feel like it's tough because some of it is personal choice too, right? Would you agree with that? Like,
Yeah,
because when I see this kitchen, I'm like, this kitchen's nicer.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. But then it comes into, see, but this still also has old carpets,
Yeah, and
old doors,
Yeah.
like it's not oak, but it's almost
Old.
like 1980s
Yeah.
brown versus,
With the stain finish.
because when was this built?
Sound well?
94. Yeah, I was just going to go look at that again. And location has a huge part to do with it too, right?
Location of the community?
Yeah. So this one, that's a sound wall there. So this one's actually looks like it's backing onto, my guess would be Country Hills. So a good way to even do this is just those 5 places you pulled. Look at the map. So it's Cersei or Country Hills. Yeah, it's this one here. Oh, that's even worse. That's the intersection. That's why it's sold for so low, right? So you got the main intersection. That's the Edgemont Superstore that we were at. That's that intersection. Yeah, that sucks. So that has a huge part when it comes to location, right? So that's that one. Third one, Citadel Meadow Grove. This one, these ones are usually on the other side. Oh no, well, this one's also backing onto Cersei. Yeah,
And the other one was on the drive, the main road.
yeah.
So it's backing on that.
So 1655, partially finished basement. Was on for quite a while.
Started at 4:30.
Oh, yeah. So what's happening with these comparables, without ever even trying, is a lot of these interiors are really decent, but it's their locations that are killing them, right? So if this house wasn't on a busy location, I would probably go back and find different ones that weren't on busy locations to help focus on the interior of the house versus the location. But if this house was on a busy street, then I would go through those comparables that are start within 100 or 200 square feet, either side, go through those ones, find those ones that are better location, that are interior, and then, or whatever. If it's location, it's location. If it's this, it's that. Just focus on what it is to help make sense, right? Then that way, it just makes it a little bit clearer when you're explaining to them. Because if you keep bringing homes that are backing onto SRC and they're in the middle of the community, they're going to go, what are you talking about? That doesn't make any sense. But even though something that has better location, but it's poorer inside and it's not updated, that kind of talks to them because that's what their house is, then they're going to go, okay, that makes sense. Even though you get the same number, you just have to know who you're talking to, right? And help explain it a bit. So
Yeah, because if you show up with a bunch of shitty interiors, like, and their interior's nice, you look down.
yeah, and their interior is really nice. And I feel like I've done that a few times and I've been able to talk my way out of it. But it's not a fun conversation.
You wouldn't know if actually was nice though.
No, you don't. You know their location.
Oh yeah.
So if they are backing on a busy road or fronting on a main drag, then you could focus on other ones that are like that. That helps you when you get to the house to decide what the interior is like. So if they are not on a busy road or backing on, focus on ones that are not that, and that will help you with the interior.
Do you ever look at the last sales before you go, like when they bought it?
Yep.
Yeah. That
Oh
was
yeah.
really good.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like I would pull that up and just save it in their file as a PDF. That way I can just pull it up quickly if I need to. But that always helps. And if you want, you can pull titles too, but you don't need to. But yeah, because part of the conversation, and this is going beyond this, is talking about their mortgage amounts and helping figure out. And like the people that I met a couple of weeks ago, like they're they're literally within months of going into foreclosure, and they're hoping to sell it to save themselves. And they're like, well, it's sad. Like they have $3,000 they can invest back into the house, but they need to put in like 40 in order. Like everything is trashed inside. And they're like, so what do we do? And I'm like, I can't. I'm not your savior in this. Like I can't save you. Like unless you can borrow 40 grand and you can reno and touch everything again, and you can do that, then this works. But otherwise, you guys are probably 30 in the hole from where your mortgage and all the costs of selling would be. So, like, you have to make your choices. And that, as great as it is to learn the listing side, it sucks sometimes because you are having harder conversations in a shorter time frame within that hour or 2 hours with somebody. You need to be very pointed. You have to know what you're talking about. You have to come in, woo them, win them over with your charisma, build relationship, and then explain and show to them what their value is, right? And how you can help them obtain that. And in a market like this, it's usually less than what they were hoping for, typically. So then now you're talking to them going, well, here's the plan. So you have to, it's almost a thing of you, yeah, being, anyway, but it's not an easy market to do listings. And so, and a lot of times it's a waiting game. Like, yeah. So your questions with this? This is pretty basic stuff. Any thoughts, Al?
No, I think you're doing pretty good job.
I agree. Pretty good.
Thanks.
Do you guys see the value in it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And for buying too, like you can
So talk about that, yeah.
you run the house that your clients are looking at buying through the same program, and you can find out exactly where you think it should be.
In terms of your negotiation strategy.
Yeah. I've gotten to the point where I've sent this to a selling agent that I was having a hard time negotiating with and said, you show me how I'm wrong.
And
That was the first thing I thought of. Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
No.
So yeah, it's gone well once and it's gone poorly once. So I can't control how he's going to react, but
No.
I can say like Harry Morgan was the guy that went poorly with.
Yeah.
But I was like, show me how you can justify this price when everything else has sold well below, right?
Yeah.
But he didn't care. And then like 2 years ago, I did it with another one, and we were having a hard time, and he showed his client, and his client was like, oh.
I think that's the key because Harry would not show his client.
Harry's a dick. But that doesn't matter.
But and I think that's the thing. And I think that's the reality. But I think the reality with it is as soon as clients see it and understand it, then they can see, because someone told me years ago, don't like tell me something, show me something. And if you can, that's why show and tells are so powerful. Come on now. So that's why I think showing is so much more valuable than just you telling somebody, this is what your house is worth. Well, how? Like even people who are a high D and just want the least amount of data, they'll look at this and go, yeah, I get it. Someone who's an engineer and wants to dig into the data and sit there and talk about all the places, you could do that too with them. So it allows you a wide spread of conversations. So, okay, should we do one together?
Yes.
So one thing, sorry, just
Yep.
one thing. When you are presenting this stuff to the clients, potential clients, one thing that you had showed me before when we were looking at my friend's place is that, I guess, like because they're looking at this scattergram and you're giving them these MLS sheets or whatever the case, but you were circling the ones that you were, like if you put a little bit of dot
Yeah.
or that circle around, just because I'm sure they're looking at that data.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the other thing that I found was beneficial, was just to take,
So,
you can say this one sold at this point, and
so if I was to prep this, I would just make a circle. I'd put it around. I'd copy. Oh, hello. Let's pretend that was one of them. And then maybe this one, just for example. So I would do that. You can do it if you're just sitting with them too, or just put, I've also organized them so that it was like 1 through 5, and I'd put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the sheet and just have it in that order, that kind of stuff. Because when you're, the next part of this is, if you remember, we were talking about those buyer tour sheets and seller sheets and stuff. That's all going to be through here in Cloud CMA. And so, let me just see if this one is, who's this buyer? Yeah, so in a market assessment like this, you would, this is what would be the printout. So you, when you pull your comparables, you would actually take the MLS numbers, put them into Cloud CMA, and it would pull a document like this. And this is what you would print off or send to them as a PDF, and kind of walk through again, buyer's market, seller's market, understanding, diving into stats. And then it would pull a map of the comparison homes. So if you had a few actives, a few solds, you can organize them in the order you want. It'll actually show you the details of the active, the sold listings. It'll lay out the details. So again, if an engineer is really wanting to dig in and talk about stuff, you could talk about it. Kind of talks about the different values, right? The average days on market, number of sold listings, average price per square foot, all those kind of things. So it just gives you a bunch of stats. And then this, so this is after you've talked about everything. You said, here's where I believe the range is for you. Again, let's review the pricing of your home. What kind of market are we in? Just so we're all on the same page. And where you get that number,
What is that?
this is the new one.
Ooh.
Where is that again? Here. So we haven't gone over these yet. So this is the data that you kind of start the conversations with. So right now, Citadel for 2-story double garage attached homes is sitting at a 4.1 months of inventory. Okay? The last 12 months, yeah. And summary of 2019, which is pretty much the 12 months, it's going to be the same for the most part, 4.1, just time of the year. So it's showing you've got 20 active places, 22 that expired, and 59 that sold. And the odds of selling have been always around 50 to 60%. 2018 was 2.8. So you can see how different the market is from last year to this year. And that's also a great conversation with people, is saying, I don't know where it's going. Like, could it go down? Could it go up? I have no idea. But the reality is you have to do what's best for you and help figure this out. And so if it is better now, then it's good. But if you're just waiting because you think the market might get better and you need to sell, or someone making a move up in this market, like that's a really good move for someone to do, because if they're dropping and they buy something else that's dropping and the market's dropped 10%, that 10% up here versus the 10% down here is a much different number. So when the market changes, whether that's 3, 5, 40 years from now, they'll be in a better position, right? So that's the first one. This second page is 2018 time to sell. So it's just a quick way to look at all the stuff we pulled. The average days before sold is 45. Average sold price was 455. 2019, the average sold price is 446. So it dropped almost 10 grand. And the days is 42 where it was 45. So it slowed down, or quicker, sorry, a little bit. But again, I always don't just focus on the numbers, focus visually on it too. So when you look at this compared to this, is there much difference? The only thing I see is it's spread out more. Like there's more spread out here where there's a much big cluster. So a lot of stuff in 2019 looks like it's sold within those first 30 days, which is totally backwards to what I would think it would be in a worse market, right? So it's just pointing out those little things because they'll go, because nobody else will. No one else is looking at this data, other agents, I mean. And if you are competing, which most cases people are shopping when it comes to listings, you're usually never not competing unless it's someone that you've known for a long time and nope, working with you kind of thing, right? But people don't point out this stuff. 2018, the biggest question sellers always have is when is the right time to sell? And usually we always say, well, spring and fall. Like that's usually when it's busiest. And that's what you just make up because you don't really know. But here you can actually look and say in 2018, actually it was like from February all the way to June and then August through December. Those were the good times. When you see the dotted lines, these are kind of like your bench months. There's a lot of inventory at the right price point in Citadel. If you were to look at a higher price point or a different community, these might just only be like 2-month bars. So it could be much different in other communities and it's never the same. Like here, 2019, like that's kind of messed up. I would never have told someone that January 15th was a really good time to sell this year. But according to the data, there's 4 or 5 sales that happened the last half of January. So it just helps you stand out when you're and explain things.
Reverse engineer that to be like this is when it's sold, so you might want to be listing in November, December.
Yeah. So if you look at the last 2 years of data, and it shows here probably January 20th because it's not quite February, and here shows January 10th or 15th. So the last 2 years, the market in Citadel has picked up, and really nothing above 500 and nothing above 450. Well, that's not totally true, but again, 500. So if you're under 500 and you want to sell as soon as you can, but you want to time it right, it probably is imperative to get on the market now. The market does have this weird window, especially with Christmas and New Year's being midweek this year. There's going to be 2 weeks of weird market. So that's a lot of time on the market for somebody. So yeah, get it on sooner. So then, you're hitting a market or enough buyers have seen it or someone's coming in from out of town over Christmas or who knows. Stuff sells like over Christmas too, right? Yeah. So it kind of helps you figure out a lot of those details with people. Cool. Okay. Should we do it together?
What did you think Citadel was worth?
I think it's correct. I have no idea. Based off the data. I didn't even pull up. Should we do the same one or a different one? Let's do a different one. Let's pull, should we do an apartment? Or just stay with houses? Houses are probably simpler. Because you'll have way less data on an apartment, on a condo. Okay, so open up Matrix. Let's start there. Oh, here's the biggest lesson. This Excel sheet is very finicky. So don't ever save this data and then try to reuse this sheet again for something else. If you want to save this in their folder, go save as. You can call it focus first, whatever you want to call it. Oh, where'd that go? Didn't I have something? Anyways, save it. I'll just say it like this. Focus first test. So save it as. So now it's saved as a new one, and just close it.
Like don't try to re-edit the same sheet.
Yeah, don't re-edit the same sheet because you'll run into problems where you actually have to re-download the Excel sheet because it just kind of gets all messed up. So, and the other thing, if you have an Excel update, so if Microsoft pushes an update for Excel, always do it. If you're having problems in the system and the sheet keeps crashing or something happens, check for updates in Microsoft because that always seems to fix it. I've called in to support and he's like, no, just do the update. And then I just save it on my desktop as the blank whatever sheet the template that I always go from. Okay.
I think it always saved on desktop too, right? When you download it.
It might. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. And always enable macros when it opens. So don't ever disable because then it won't work. I don't know why, but it's a thing. Okay, so lots of rules. It's really good, and I think why more people probably don't use it is because it's finicky. But the more you use it, and I would start using it on your deals now. When people are writing on stuff, just start using the system and get used to it, because the more proficient you are at this, the more knowledge you're going to have to be able to bring to the transaction, whether it's the buying or the selling. Okay. Someone have a property idea. That's an example.
Should we do one last specific, or do you think it's legal?
No, we can just pull even something you saw. Like, what's a place you saw that you're like, oh, anything?
How about
I saw 758 Tuscany Springs Boulevard, Northwest. It's errored. What? It must not be.
It's a phantom house.
Here, let me Google search it. 758 Tuscany Springs. Let's see what comes up. Oh no, that's it. Maybe that's not it.
how about Happy Five?
Oh, 789. Maybe that was it.
Is that one that you did or something?
This is when I was showing. Oh, did I see this one? Oh, that's a tough one actually. I was just I think I showed this. No, I didn't show this one. 79. Just gotta love other people's websites. 749. There it is. 749 Tuscany Springs Boulevard. So if we go into Krebs Maps, 749 Tuscany Springs Boulevard, North and West. There we go. Okay. So you guys all have Krebs Maps open? Oh. Okay, there we go. 749 Tuscany Springs Boulevard, Northwest. So this house is currently active on the market. It's 2,200 square feet. And
Attached garage.
yeah, it's just a double, it's not a triple. But biggest thing is square footage. Like, you want to kind of get a rough range, because interesting to note, the city had Alex's Citadel place at, was it 1590? And you guys measured it out at 1601.
Mm-hmm.
So it's different. So, and again, that's why you can't like tie it completely to everything, because stuff changes. So just because the city has this one at 2,200 square feet or 2,213, it could actually be 2,289 or 2,170. So it could be a little bit different. Okay, so what's the next steps?
Open up your matrix.
Matrix.
Property.
Yeah, so put your community as Tuscany. And so there's tons of properties in Tuscany, right?
Is there a reason you do it all the way to 1,000?
I just pull 1,000 days, and then I let the Excel sheet determine what 6 months.
Okay.
So, because it will actually pull data. Remember how you saw 2018 stats?
Mm-hmm.
It pulls 2018 stats from what you export as well. So you want to pull a lot of data because then it will tell you what was the previous 12 months and what are the last 12 months. So you for sure want at least 600 to 800 days worth of stuff. I've just always done 1,000 because the system will tweak it as it goes. So, yeah, so you want to be in a detached, well, like I wouldn't necessarily do 2 car because why? 20, there's triples. You're in an estate type of house. It's 2,200 square feet. Someone could have triples, and I actually want to compare that house to this house. And you don't want to lose a possible great option, right?
So you use your discretion.
They're all going to have garages, so we don't need to do that. Yeah, I wouldn't do a garage at all. You could do 2-story, but it's not going to change that much. The one thing that I would do is an estate house is much like a 2,200 square foot, $700,000 house in Tuscany is much different than what other type of home in Tuscany. 1,200 square foot starter house. All the other ones. So in this case, if you have the same scatagram for a 1,200 square foot single bathroom house all the way to 3,500 square foot estate house, it's just going to be too much information, right? So we actually do want to bring that down. So what would be a square footage that just doesn't make sense, do you think? Like on the low end, 1,800. I was going to say like 17, 18. So let's just go 1,700 up to, just go to 3,500 and then let's see what comes up. So now we're down to 680. Still a lot of data. Yeah, I clicked 2-story. Yeah. Yeah. But to me, that's a lot. We'll be able to pull from that, and kind of go from there. Okay.
Is there a magic number you're looking for?
I just don't want it under 100 or 150 because then it's not enough data because you've pulled like you want the scatagram if you're looking at it to be lower left, upper right. Like price per square foot gets bigger as it gets bigger of a house, right? But I've pulled stuff where it's flat. The blue line is flat or the blue line's in the opposite and it's going down. Well, price per square foot doesn't decrease as homes get bigger. So what's happening is there's not enough data to make the line do this. So then you actually sometimes instead of 6 months, remember how I changed it from, was it May or whatever, 18th to May 1st? I changed it. Sometimes in that field, you actually need to go back 8 months and try to get more sold data to make the blue line do it. So you have to play with it, and that's why doing it with deals you're doing now, it'll really help figure it out, okay? But once you get it and you kind of know the little nuances and how it works, like it's super powerful. Okay, so let's pull this. So let's just go to results with the 680. Excuse me. Quickest way, click that button. Just check all. And then export on the bottom. And then whatever you saved your export, the custom export file, choose that and then export it. Okay. And actually tip number 2 with the Excel sheet itself, save a whole extra templated one, just the blank ones, somewhere on your laptop. So just save it in a folder somewhere that's like an emergency blank one. And if you ever need that update code, and like let's say you had to delete it all and you're trying to do a new one, on the Trello card, there's the activation code is all inside that Trello card, and we can all use that. And so I updated it so it's current for this year. So as it comes closer to December next year, we just have to reactivate it with a new activation code. So that's where you get that code. It's all on that Trello card there. Okay, so export it. Everyone has it exported? Do you have Excel now? Not yet? Okay.
So you did a text.
Yep, you want it as a text file.
Excel's gonna transcript it into the.
Yep.
So we save, like,
Yep, save it. I just save it. I mean, if you want, you could drag it or save it into the client's folder if you really, really wanted, because that's all the data that you're pulling. But you don't need to.
On my desktop at home, I do have Excel, so like if I email this document to myself at
Yep.
home, I can actually just
Do it all.
okay.
Oh yeah.
So I'll
Okay.
just follow along then and do it.
Yep. So don't open this file because it looks like this. Because there's nothing you will get from this. So what you want to do is you want to go into Excel, open up that Focus First Excel sheet, and you should see this visual pricing on the top right, or top left, sorry, top left. So click that. Do you have that there?
Mine looks different, and I know
It's a,
different.
yeah,
PC.
just show here.
Is it just start here?
Yeah, so if you have a Start Here button on your PCs, then just click the Start Here button. And then it should, oh yeah, did you guys do that?
Sorry, what?
So there's something inside your laptop that you have to change. What did that say? Read it out.
It says the scattergram date sorting will work best if you change your date format to the US date format. See how to change
Yeah.
your date format, go
The
to.
month and days are weird.
Yeah.
I can't stand that either.
Is it usually day first and then month?
In Canada it is, but in the United States it's month, day, year.
Oh, okay.
So like the
So
default
the system needs it that, yeah. So go into your settings and like go into your time and date settings. So Mac, I know how. Do you know how to change it on the PC side?
I don't know if it's from the United States.
No, but to help them.
It's for my.
It's at the bottom of my phone.
Settings that are like laptop, not
Yeah,
just the.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So
So settings, so Mac user, you can go here, date and time, and then here, oh no, where is that? Open language and region, I think. Oh, I gotta unlock it. Open language, yeah, and then in there, you change it to United States. It might be. I don't know for PCs, and that's why you probably didn't get the error
Yeah,
when you opened up the sheet.
okay.
So yours is probably good.
Explains it.
Yeah.
Explains it. Yeah,
And did yours show Canada, Tanya?
It did show Canada.
Okay, so that's why. So that's why you didn't get the error, Cindy.
Okay.
It's just under control panel, top and region.
So if I just change the country
Region.
or region to US,
Yep.
then I should be fine.
Yeah. And try that. You're good, Amanda?
It says it's saying the same thing.
So then maybe close Excel, quit Excel, and reopen that sheet. And then it might read it properly. Okay, so once you have, are you good, Simi?
No.
I can download it.
We'll re-download it.
Oh, you broke it already.
PC.
Okay, so after you did the start here, you imported it. It might take a little bit. To get going. Okay, so once you've done that, here's where the data is. It's all in these bottom tabs. So click, oh, it's all formatted funny. The data in there. Woohoo!
I think so.
So on the bottom, it kind of opens up in little chunks. Okay, so you have odds, and then you have a bunch of data points or whatever, and then pricing and positioning. Those are so odds, pricing, positioning are the three main categories in the bottom there. So as you kind of scroll through, Mine looks funny. It'll be fine when you print it. But you can basically click on odds all the way over to your 2018, hit shift, click. So then you selected all of those sheets.
Oh, we're shift clicking all.
Yeah.
To 2018.
Yeah. So those are the 5 sheets. You have your main odds selling sheet and then your 2 time to sells and your 2 buyer patterns. And then for me, I just hit Command P and I print it. So print to PDF or save to PDF. I don't know if,
It's similar for us.
yeah, it should be by now.
Save to PDF.
So save to PDF.
Save as,
Or just save that.
yeah, save as for,
Or save as a PDF.
does it have to be PDF? Is there a reason you're saving as PDF?
It's the easiest then.
Okay.
Yeah, because you can print from here directly to the printer too, and sometimes that works. But I like to have a PDF document that I'm saving because I can always send that to the client after a meeting or have it on my tablet or whatever really easily.
And the ones that are in saved are going to be for Tuscany, like 1700.
Yeah, this is that house. Yeah. Did you check for
I'm
us?
just gonna do
Oh, full reset. Yeah. Okay, so then when you've saved it, the PDFs will look like this. Oh, that one got messed up. So I would just go back and reprint to PDF this one. For some reason it got squished. See, here's the crazy part. This is why when you have so much data, sometimes it's not helpful because it doesn't tell you the buying patterns. But what I would do, I would then go in here and look at if we know that it's a 700 to 800 house, I would probably go in and just kind of highlight this bar, something like that, because then you can kind of show them and say, so here's your price point within there. You can kind of see it's not as busy as under 600, but it's just scattered throughout the year. So it's just another visual way. So you can always drill down with the data that's there for somebody. And then 2019, whoa, crazy. Do you think it's a better market or a worse market for 700,000 homes? It looks a lot better. Oh, worse. Sorry, 2019.
Oh.
This is 2018. Look how many places between 7 and 8 sold. And then now this year, it's way less. So this is a very visual way to get explained to somebody, right? I'm like, I'm not making this up. I'm not playing a realtor game with you. Like, oh, there's no sales. I'm not playing the fear mongering game with you. It's like, no, for legit. Like, this is the data. And that's what, when you can approach an appointment, a client, a conversation with logical versus emotional, that's what a seller needs. They need logic. They don't need emotion, right? So that's why we do it this way. Okay.
How are you, like when you highlighted that area, what program are you using?
Well,
Is that the PDF?
yeah, this is a PDF, and I don't know how, maybe Brennan knows.
Yeah, he's in Scottsdale right now, but when he gets home.
Yeah.
I'm all over this.
Yeah, like maybe ask him if there's a good, like, I don't know if like Adobe or if there's a free PDF editor or something
Yeah.
that you could just have as a PC, because this is the one that's built into Mac. Paint? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Like it might.
Draw, maybe.
It might be that simple. Like this is just the preview, which is Mac's PDF viewer.
Okay.
And so you can just do that stuff in here. Like I can even save signatures in here too, which a lot of places don't like when I try to sign for Rebecca, but I have it.
Okay.
So yeah. So if there is something that'd be great to share.
Yeah.
That'd be huge.